Hello everyone, this is Yeeflex and welcome back to another Yeeflex Outdoors video. In this video, it's going to be a short recap for the opening weekend that I went to San Pablo Reservoir. So if you don't know, San Pablo Reservoir closes from, I believe, mid-November, like after Veterans Day, to about beginning of February for a bird migration. So within those 2.5 months, you're not allowed to go fish there. The park, I believe, is not even open either. So more recently, I went on opening weekend with my dad fishing to San Pablo. So the reservoir actually opened February 3rd, and we went the next day on February 4th, the Saturday. And on this fishing trip, it was pretty interesting because the weather was pretty unpredictable. So this year in the Bay Area, the weather's been more to a regular pattern where there is more rain. And this is probably the first time fishing where there's been more consistent rain. Like there's been a time where I've gone fishing with my dad and we were caught in a rainstorm, but it was like towards like the end of the day, like right before we were about to leave. But on this Saturday, it was pretty cold and it was kind of drizzling on and off for part of the day, and then it started raining later on in the day. But in the beginning of the day when we got to the reservoir, it was actually pretty nice. Other than being cold, it was cloudy. The sun came out. There was some nice views on the water. There were quite a few people fishing there because oddly enough, there was a trout fishing derby that day, which I didn't even know was a thing because in past years, I'd never seen a trout fishing derby. So when we got to the reservoir, there were quite a few people, but I think as the day progressed, a lot of them left, maybe because of the rain. But as I was saying, earlier in the day, we got there, the weather was not too bad, and then I think the first kind of shower came in around like 9-10 in the morning, and then another shower rolled around at around like 11:30 to about 12, and then like right at 1 o'clock, like it started kind of pouring, which the weather forecasted that there wasn't going to be much rain. So my dad and I didn't have a full day kind of at San Pablo, but overall, the fishing was really slow. There were quite a few people, quite a few rods out there, and none of the fish bit. They actually planted on the Thursday before the reservoir opened. So from what I know, a lot of the fish don't really bite, at least the next few days after they're planted, because they're still trying to acclimate to the reservoir and the water and the temperature. So there were no bites from what I saw throughout that day. And for my dad and I, we got skunked, and it just kind of, our trip was ended short because like the rain just got pretty bad right around like 1:30, which wasn't really predicted. So we just kind of ended up having to leave. This trip, I would say I was a little bit lazier in just using power bait, but because it was raining kind of so much, I didn't really want to be caught out in the rain too much and checking my baits too often. And we were just kind of, for at least for me, I was just happy to be back out there again because it'd been a little bit since my last striper fishing trip back in November. So it's just kind of nice to be out in nature again. But this is the first fishing trip where I've really fully been in the rain. But there were some nice views on this trip. And the best thing I think about this reservoir this year is because we've had a normal rain pattern, that the reservoir is like 98% full. And it's the fullest I've ever seen it, because in the last few years there have been quite a few droughts and pretty big droughts. So the water level would be high, but this is the highest it's ever been. So the water was pretty cloudy, and that might have had an effect on the fishing. So pretty much the whole time we didn't really see anyone catch a fish. Right when we were leaving, we heard these people screaming like they were super excited. Maybe one of them caught a fish when we were leaving, but we weren't sure because we were like already like part way up the hill, and then we just heard like some like loud screams. So not sure what happened there, but I know for the most part a lot of people left after my dad and I left. Like a lot of people just left because it was starting to rain pretty hard and stuff. And a lot of the people for the trout derby, I felt like left as well. So it was great to see the reservoir at 98% capacity, but the water was pretty murky and muddy, so conditions for fishing were not ideal, and the temperature's been pretty cold, at least for this area. So maybe when it warms up a little, the trout bites will be a little bit better. But in the future, I plan to probably, do some more strategies and maybe use, a spinner or something to maybe get through that muddy water. But this past trip to San Pablo's opening weekend, wasn't sure like what the conditions were even like, and how high the water was and stuff like that. So it was just kind of like a test trip to say, if my dad and I caught a fish, we would have been lucky. But other than that, we were just, at least for me, I was just happy to be back out there, back in nature. So I plan to go a few more times with some other people that I know. So definitely looking forward to that. But anyways, this is just a short recap video. Got skunked this trip, so no fish on this trip. But anyways, hope you guys just enjoyed listening to my kind of first 2023 opening recap of San Pablo Reservoir. All right, have a good one, everyone. Peace.